everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm bringing you a book haul where I'm going to be talking mostly about books that are coming out in July and August and a couple that were sent to me that are already out. All of these books are books that I've got on NetGalley. If you don't know what NetGalley is, it is a platform that publishers use to send out early review copies to people who talk about books online, whether that's on a YouTube channel, whether they have a blog, whether they just review books on Goodreads. I used to use NetGalley a lot a couple of years ago, and then I just didn't use it for a very long time. But since lockdown happened and I know publishers aren't able to send out physical proofs in the way that they once were, I have turned back to NetGalley and I've really enjoyed it. I forgot how great NetGalley is. I'm going to talk about these books in the order they are coming out, starting with the few I have that were sent to me and are already out. I have two books that were very kindly sent to me by Vintage, starting with How to Be an Anti-Racist. This book actually came out last year, but I guess it's a really important book for people to be reading at the moment. I know I've definitely learned a lot from it. I just finished it the other day. I will be talking about this one more in my June reading wrap up, but this is a non-fiction book all about how it isn't enough to just be not racist. You must be actively anti-racist if we are going to dismantle racist structures. This book was a fantastic education. It can be quite tough, uncomfortable reading at times, but I think as a white ally, you just have to sit in that sense of discomfort and figure out how you can best help the black people in your life and the black people you don't even know. This book definitely gave me a sense of what I could do better, and it taught me a lot about things that I hadn't even considered before because I was so blinded by my privilege. Next I have Mouthful of Blood by Nobel Prize winning Toni Morrison. This is another non-fiction book and it is a collection of Toni Morrison's essays about lots of different topics, but are all kind of linked to race and gender and globalization. I've read two or three of Toni Morrison's novels and I think she is such an incredible writer, but I've never read any non-fiction from her before. I've listened to her speak and like speeches, but I think reading essays from her will be a really incredible way to get insight to what she thought about things. I think she's a really incredible speaker and thinker, so I think I will get a lot out of this essay collection. I also have Date Me Bryson Keller by Kevin Van Wy. This one came out at the end of May and it is a YA romance between two teenage boys. I've already read this one, so I will talk about this one more in my wrap up as well, but it is the swooniest thing. It is so cute. So Bryson Keller, of this book's title, is a like super hot, super popular captain of the football team. You know the kind of guy I'm talking about. He doesn't believe in high school relationships, so this like challenge is set for him where he has to prove that he can date a new person every single week. He can't ask anyone out. He has to like get other people to ask him out, and it was never specified that it was only girls that could ask him out. And when a boy asks him out, we follow the journey of both of these boys as they have a journey to self-acceptance, to understanding their own sexuality more, and it's just so swoony. If you love a YA romance, then I would really recommend this one. Next I have Blood Moon by Lucy Cuthue. This is a YA book that is all about periods. Now, whether you have been on this channel for a little while and it's something you know about me or you know me in real life, I love talking about periods. I think periods are one of my favorite things to talk about. And I also think it's really important that periods are a part of YA books. As a grown 24-year-old woman, my period is such a big part of my life, and I think back on my teenage years and it was an even bigger part of my life then because it was so new. Our main character, Frankie, is having her first sexual experience with her boyfriend Benjamin when she gets her period, and both of them agree that this is not a big deal, it's just a bit of blood. But then a meme goes viral, turning their intimate moment into something that is shamed and people have revulsion toward. And that leads Frankie to think that she herself is disgusting. I think this is going to be a really fantastic book for me to read. It is published by Walker Books, who I think get their middle grade and YA books just so spot on. I really love them. I do have a bit of an idea for how I'm going to read this book, so do watch this space. Next I have Breaking and Mending by Joanna Cannon. You may know Joanna Cannon from her fiction books, The Trouble with Goats and Sheep and Three Things About Elsie, both of which I read and really enjoyed. But this is a non-fiction book from this author, and it is all about her experiences being a junior doctor in the NHS. There have been lots of different books about people's experiences working in the NHS, and I think different writers come at it from different angles. I think this one is a bit more serious and somber and emotional than other books I've read on this topic. If you don't know, the NHS is the National Health Service in the UK. I'm not from the UK, I am from Ireland, but I have lived in the UK since I was 18. And because we have a very different health system in Ireland, when I moved to the UK, I was just mind blown by how incredible the NHS is. So I feel very strongly about protecting it and funding it properly and supporting doctors and nurses and everyone that works in medical settings. So I think this is going to be a really powerful book. Next I have The Shelf by Helen Acton. This is published by Bonnier and it was recommended to me by my dear friend Katie, who works at Bonnier, and you may know her from her channel Books and Things. When she told me about this book, I was like, yes, I want this so much. So Amy is at that point in her life where she feels like everyone is getting married. Already, I love books like that. I love books about the girl who isn't getting married. When she is whisked off on holiday by her boyfriend, she is convinced that he is going to pop the question. This is finally going to happen for her, but that is not what happens at all. It turns out she is going to go on a reality show called The Shelf. She is dumped on TV, and alongside 5 other women she has to complete these like tasks to be crowned the winner of this show, which is called like The Keeper. I think if you are like me and love Love Island but in a very critical way, you will like this book. I think I'm gonna give this book 5 stars. I just think I am. Next I have Scabby Queen by Kirsten Innes. This one comes out in the latter half of July. I've read one of her previous books, Fishnet, and I thought it was really fantastic. Like that book, this one seems like nothing I've ever read before. It seems really gritty. It's set in Scotland, which is something I really like. This book follows what happens after the suicide of a 50-year-old woman named Cleo Campbell. Cleo Campbell is described as a one-hit wonder and a political activist. When she was younger, the media saw her as like a sexy starlet, but as she aged, she became a difficult spinster. This book spans half a century, and I think it follows a lot of political themes and big political moments in British history. Things like the miners' strike, things like Brexit. I love stories about the lives of women, but particularly when they have a sort of political angle to them. I really appreciate that. As I said, I've read a book from this author before, so I do have quite high hopes for this one. Next I have If I Had Your Face by Frances Shaw. This is a really fascinating sounding book. It is set in Seoul, where, and I didn't know this before I read about this book, it is really normalized to get a lot of plastic surgery. Like, it's kind of as normalized as going to get a haircut. And this book follows 4 women who have very different backgrounds and experiences, and I think it just like follows their different journeys. It's meant to be really observant and really feminist, so they are 2 things that I love. If you have read this one, I would love to hear thoughts down below in the comments because it just sounds so intriguing to me. Next I have Olive by Emma Gannon. This is another book that is about a woman who feels like her friends are getting married. She's at a bit of a crossroads in her life, but I think this one is also particularly focused on a woman's decision not to have children. This is something that I'm interested in reading a bit more about. My own personal feelings on having children are like very up and in the air at the moment. It's definitely something I feel like I don't need to decide anytime soon, but it is something I think about a little bit. This book has been really highly praised by authors that I really love, like Marion Keyes and Louise O'Neill, so I'm convinced I'm going to really enjoy this one. Next I have Supporting Cast by Kit Duvall, which comes out also at the end of July. I have read 2 books by Kit Duvall and I really want to read her other book, The Trick to Time, but this is a collection of short stories from her. These stories show the extraordinary moments in ordinary lives, and that's what I really love in a short story. I love just dipping into someone's life at a very powerful moment and then just going on my way. Like, they are the kind of short stories that I really love. I really enjoy Kit Duvall's writing, so I think I'm really gonna like some short stories from her too. Next I have Electric Arches by Eve Ewing. This is a narrative poem that follows the experiences of a young black girl. It is set in Chicago in an unspecified part of the future, and I think there are also some magical elements to this as well. I really love narrative poetry. I love storytelling through poetry, and I think this sort of melting pot of a few different genres is something that I'm really intrigued by with this book. You know what, I feel like I've spoken for quite a while now, so I'm going to talk about the books that are coming out in August in another video, and maybe by then I'll have a few more books to talk to you about that are coming out in August. Let me know down in the comments if you are intrigued by reading any of these books. I will leave links to them down below in the description. They will be affiliate links, so if you do buy anything from those links, I get a little bit of a cut, and all of the money that I'm making through those affiliate links I will be donating to good causes that are helping the Black Lives Matter movement. That's it for me today, but I hope you guys are doing well, you are staying safe, and I will talk to you in my next video.